1 in 4 Canadians self-identify as having a disability. Today, as part of our special series looking at the future of work, we are looking at the importance of hiring people with disabilities and benefits for both employees and the employer. Joining us to discuss this is the Associate Director of Accessible Employers, Yat Li. Good morning, Yat. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Jason. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
It's wonderful to have you here. First of all, let's talk about your organization. You've been involved for 3.5 years. Accessible Employers, what's its mission?
Accessible Employers is an initiative of the President's Group, and we work closely with employers and champion accessible workplaces. And that means providing resources to employers so that they address attitudinal barriers, physical barriers, technology barriers for British Columbians.
What are the major barriers people face, people who live with a disability, when they apply for a job?
One of the common barriers I often see are attitudinal barriers, unconscious bias, especially when it comes to job applications. And we see that quite often. And when 1 in 4 Canadians self-identify with a disability, that matters. And so just imagine the next time you sit at a table in a restaurant, 1 in 4 of you could potentially self-identify with a disability.
25%. Do you self-identify with a disability with hearing loss? You've been suffering hearing loss for quite some time, and I'm sure you've had a lot of experience when it comes to the barriers that you talk of.
Yeah, I'd love to share a personal anecdote this morning. Being able to self-disclose and the stigma of self-disclosing can be really scary. And one particular instance when I was much younger is applying for a job and going through the orientation and seeing the fact that there's so many headsets around the different offices and the cubicles that I'll be part of. But I myself self-identify with microtia, where I don't have outer ears. The ears you see today are prosthetic ears. And I also wear a bone-anchored hearing aid. That means I can't wear headsets. And knowing so, I was so hesitant to share because with my employer at the time, because I feared the stigma that, they might think I'm not a good worker. They might think that I don't have those skills to do my job, when in fact I do. So that was really, scary. But through consultation with others, I was inspired to self-disclose. And when I did so, I recognized that the CEO of the organization at the time also has a hearing loss. And together we bonded a little bit through that, and it made me, really feel really safe.
I'm glad you did that. What a courageous move. So do you advise people then to disclose? It depends on the person, I guess, but it's nice to be transparent and feel comfortable to talk with your potential employer about all the challenges that you might have with the job.
Self-disclosure is two ways. It's between the employee or prospective employee and the employer. It's also the requirement for the employer to create a safe space for self-disclosure. If the employer does not have the policies that are inclusive, that are accessible, doesn't have the physical spaces that are accessible for people, it is very hard to inspire others to self-disclose.
Sounds like your anecdote there, you had a wonderful employer. What's your message to viewers out there who might being employing staff and doing the job interviews and looking at the applications? What's your words for them?
People with disabilities are great employees. They're 72% more likely to stay within your organization. When they are, that means you don't have to spend another $4,500 on marketing efforts to recruit new members to join your team. So the next time you come across an application where a person self-discloses, you think about the loyalty of it.
And then also benefits for the employee, him or herself.
Absolutely. The employee are great employees. They're 6 times more innovative than their peers as well, too. When folks with disabilities are employed in a safe space, they can thrive.
Do we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to this?
Attitudinal barriers are continuing to manifest. We need to continue to address unconscious bias. And I think, disabilities goes beyond physical disabilities. There's attitudinal, there's technology, and there's many others.
Yat Li, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story with us this morning.
You're welcome.